How's it going? We're back.
We're back.
We're back. I
We've been
haven't
planning
recorded.
this for quite some time now.
I haven't recorded for a while actually because I've been working and then life shit, war shit, PTSD. Probably who knows.
Yeah, I can totally understand. And I can see that you did some work with your decorations as well.
Yeah, this is from Colombia. It's by an artist called Botero. I don't know if you're familiar.
Potato.
Botero.
Okay.
Botero. And then this is a
Botero.
tie. Yeah, this is a tie from Thailand that I got here though, not when I was in Thailand. It's quite heavy. What else?
Yeah,
This one, can you read that?
of course.
Is it
Where'd
the
you get
same in
that
Arabic?
from?
Is it the same word?
It's Ishq, which could be like a name. It could be like the word, like a synonym for love, but it's like more intense love.
So this is from Croatia. I gotta figure out where to put my Cuba stuff up again because I have
Hmm.
two. So maybe here?
That's a bit out of the frame.
Yeah, but I can go up. Sometimes I go up higher.
Yeah.
Cubano. So yeah, that was when I was in Cuba. I got these because I don't like weight, so I try to get light things when I travel.
Yeah.
So how has life been on the in your job and things?
It's been okay. I just had like a couple of rough days. But like I'm getting back to the game.
Rough how? Like too much work, rough?
Not too much work, it's just that I went out one day. Uh it was Sunday and just things went not as I expected. And it
Did you
was
go on
like
a date?
no, it
Oh,
was just a night out.
with friends?
Yeah. But let's just say that they literally had to carry me back home.
Been there. No, I've never had been carried because like when I drink, when I used to, I mean I drink once in a while. My friends usually make me drink, so I feel peer pressured and then I'll be like fine. But when I used to drink like in high school and college and stuff, I never would be carried out or passed out. I would usually just get sick, nauseous, throw up, but I would never be blacked out or passed out.
Yeah, so like that never happened to me either. But like I don't know what happened that night for real. Like
Maybe you got drugged.
I hope not.
No, that's very common actually in bars and stuff. Like guys do it to girls, girls do it to guys to like sometimes take their money.
Oh, well, I don't know. It was just so shameful.
But what if you got drugged? You're going to be shamed if you like somebody put
No, I
something in
don't
your
think I
drink.
got drugged because like we had few drinks in my house and then we went out to the bar.
Did you
Um,
mix a lot of alcohol, different types?
yeah,
Or
for
you're
sure.
not a drinker, huh?
No, I drink on like occasions.
Yeah, my body doesn't like it. I wish I could drink more, but it's poisonous, right? It's literally poison. And
Yeah,
so your body is like rejecting it. So my body is usually like, we're not sleeping with this in us. It usually that same night, when I used to like be in college and stuff, that same night I would always throw up. I would never have a hangover because that same night, if I ever drank too much, which would be like 3, 4 drinks,
yeah,
more likely than not, I would throw it up because my body was like,
yeah, that's true.
get it out, get it
It
out.
also gets you so dehydrated, and I almost didn't drink any water the whole night. Um, so it is poisonous. And it just wasn't planned. We had a couple drinks. I was so happy and I was so excited. I was almost
That's what happens. You're like, oh, I had a couple drinks. I'm so happy. And then you're like, you know what? I can have a couple of more drinks and be even more happy. And then your
yeah,
body is
but
like,
like
fuck you. No, you can't.
I didn't even think about getting more drinks. I bought the first round and then
Most
I
likely,
drank them all because my friends were just like, oh, you should drink this and you should drink this. And I was like, okay, let me drink that for you. And then my friend bought the other round, and kind of the same thing happened. So yeah,
Well,
I was feeling totally fine.
usually 9 times out of 10, when we go out with friends, let's say we go out with a group of 10 people, at least 4 of those people probably are either overly abusing alcohol, dependent on alcohol. There's a high percentage of people that are always going to be addicted, focused, and they want more drinks. And with alcohol, it's social lubrication. It's so easy. So people are like, give me more, give me more, give me more. And a lot of people can handle it because every time they go out, they drink more. But when we're in a group, more often than not, somebody really likes to drink a lot. And in the spirit of partying, everybody drinks. So that one person can really fucking drink.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're done talking about alcohol addiction.
Does this look straight to you?
Uh,
I painted this.
oh, that's a really cool one.
What does it say? What year? 21. This was a COVID painting.
Oh, I didn't know you paint.
I don't. I was painting at somebody's house. We had a paint night.
Yeah.
This
For
happened.
someone who
I
doesn't
painted
paint,
this at an actual wine and paint. So if you ever come visit me, I'll take you to a wine and paint night. But
yeah.
actually, this is not the picture that they were painting. My brother and I went rogue because the picture that the class was being led in, the teacher, we didn't want to paint that one. So my brother and I did our own thing. We're such assholes. So
For
the poor
someone who
teacher is
doesn't
like
paint,
teaching. The poor teacher is like teaching a class, and me and my brother are like, we're like stroking our own shit. Assholes.
but like that's too good for someone who doesn't paint.
I don't paint, but I'm good at I'm naturally gifted, Karim. I should tell you. Let me show you another one. I just put this on top of this mantle that I bought. This I did in, what is that, 2017? This is old.
Whoa.
It looks better when you see it from there because you can see my shading work, you know? But when you look at it, when I look at it right here, I'm like, God damn, that's a hot ass mess. But on TV, it looks good. Everything looks better on TV. I look better on TV. You like it?
How many talents you got?
That's it. That's about it. And I'm just good at making people better. That's all.
Oh.
Okay, but I'm going to show you my first painting, which is 2000. I don't even know what the fuck, 18, 17. This was supposed to be the Eiffel Tower, but as you can tell, it has taken a bit of a phallic stance.
It's abstract art.
But I do like what I did with the lights. I feel like I captured the lights getting smaller better. I feel like we're having an art class right now.
And like
so
the
I wasn't proud
lighting
of
of
this.
the water as well.
It is abstract. I would say pop art.
Whoa.
I should, if anybody wants to donate to free will therapy, I'm selling this if you guys want to start a bidding war. I stroked this myself. I stroked it myself. All right, Karim, you're here to interrogate me, eh?
Yeah, how does it feel to be on the other side?
I don't think the people know that's what we're doing. So why don't you? I mean, we're like 10 minutes in. I have to put in the thing like, if you don't want to hear us bullshit, go to 9 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. So welcome back, Karim, and you're here to interview me.
Yeah, exactly. So, are you excited
wait,
to be
before
on
we
the other
start,
side?
no, I'm not. Hopefully you can control me from interrupting people because that's my problem. Because of my neurodivergence doesn't allow me to shut the fuck up. So let's have a stop sign if I get too divergent.
Okay, I'll try. So let's start from the very beginning.
Holy shit. I haven't been to therapy in a while. All right. The very beginning?
So in few episodes, you mentioned you being a child of war. Do you want to like explain this a little bit more to us?
Sure. So in 1979, my mother was impregnated by my father. Let's picture that for a moment. And then, so the revolution was happening. That's when as we know, as what the news tells us sometimes currently, when we go back and read all the government involvements in different countries, there was some involvement in my country of Iran. So I was being produced at that time, which if you read Gabor Mate's story, he also was conceived in the womb and then came out into a war, which is exactly kind of what happened to my generation of people who were born and raised in that era. And you see a lot of us, actually, I know quite a few of us who came here in that same timeline, we're born in that same timeline. We're very hyperactive. We have a lot of energy. We're like a little bit crazy.
Just a little bit?
Well, everybody's a little bit crazy, maybe a little bit more than a little bit.
Okay.
But just a tinge.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then I was born, and then do you have a further question?
Yeah, so you were born in the US?
No.
No?
No. I was born in Iran.
Okay. So do you remember anything from the war?
I remember everything, yeah, because so I grew up there, and half of my grade school was, we had also, I just like to point out, we do have snow days in Iran because we have full seasons. Some people think it's a desert out there and just hot, but no, we had snow days off of school, just like we do here in the East Coast, not on the West Coast. And with the war, we had war days. So we would escape to the Caspian Sea up north in Darya Kenar, it's called. My grandparents had places there, and we would stay there for a while because the bombings were happening, and they're basically, doing what we do best, destabilizing a region for our whatever. Don't get me started on that. And so, yeah, so I would be maybe, I don't know, kindergarten or maybe first grade. And we would go when I was in Tehran when we were affected. If we were in the Caspian Sea, we were fine. We were escaped for a while. But in Tehran, in the city, we would have to, the alarms would go off. We would get up. We would, sometimes I have to ask my mom. Sometimes we would know in advance how long we were going to be, or like that it was going to be a long night or whatever. So we would take food and like games for the kids and like things like that to go seek shelter for however many hours. So we would be, and I don't remember the details of like being with the people there because I'm sure I can only remember so much. But I do remember the act of getting up in the middle of the night, packing our shit and going to our neighbor's basement because that would be the safest place until we could come out. So that is probably the extent of it. I didn't see people blown up. I do remember my dad putting pillows on the windows between the curtain and the window so that if the shattering happened, it wouldn't, shatter into us. So, these are things that you grew up with and you're like, oh, that's fucking normal because, this is what we do as kids, or when they grow up in other gang related places or in the home. If the parents are quite violent, you're just always on edge and you don't know what to expect. So I think that's where the hypervigilance comes from. Always, which has its positives and negatives. I can multitask the fuck out of some shit, but it's if something is not as much of an interest, it's harder to focus on.
Yeah. So, like you would say that it kind of helps you prioritize your tasks.
Not really, because especially with, I mean, I'm bad with some of those time management things, and I don't know if it has to do with that. Maybe I just need to work harder at it. But because I'm doing a lot at a time, so there's definitely some ADD stuff happening and some just hypervigilance and too many thoughts. Meditation helps, exercise helps. But when you're more stressed, I'm guilty just like everyone else. I always tell my clients, when you're more stressed, you got to turn up the self-care, and people never do because they put that last. They're like, I'm more stressed. I have to tend to work. I have to tend to school. I'll take care of myself when I'm done with that, which is like a bad thing. It's like, no, you have to do that so you can take care of that stuff better. So I'm guilty of that. Like when I'm highly stressed, I don't turn up the self-care all the time. And then things are harder to manage, as is life.
Yeah, but why do you think it's harder to turn up the self-care? Do you feel like when people throw their focus on their work or like whatever is they are doing, it's just an easier distraction?
What do you think from learning about things?
I would say so, like a lot of people like being stressed or dealing with any negative feelings is not something that
I'm going to leave
everybody's
you. I'm going to
with.
get something. Go ahead. Continue. Yes, correct.
But so that's why I feel like a lot of people, because they don't know how to set with these uncomfortable feelings, they tend to seek distractions.
Yeah. And
But
even furthermore, continue, finish.
furthermore, like drugs and alcohol or whatever, like thing that would like take these feelings away or numb them. But I feel like once you start to allow these feelings to just flow, that it would be easier to turn up the self-care because you're like, okay, I'm feeling bad now, but I just need to sit with it, do something for myself, and maybe get some good night's sleep, and I will wake up better.
So I'm excited to do EMDR with you because I would say yes, all of those things help. Taking care of our basic needs, which is always exercise, eat good food, get good sleep, get some some sunlight, and make sure you're eating well. Those are
Yeah.
just basics. Without those things, if you don't have fuel in your body, mind, and spirit, you can't function properly. You're not going to make good decisions. You're going to neglect yourself. But unfortunately, most often than not, we've all at some point or another learned to neglect ourselves. More people have than not learned this. Not everyone, but it's a high percentage of people. I could say like 75% of people have learned to neglect themselves more than not. So that part they have to do a little bit of a deeper work, which this is where EMDR comes in. And I'm excited for you to talk about it now, all the things you're learning, because that's great. And I did that kind of therapy for many years.
Yeah.
And it does help. Learning to put yourself first and learning to trust yourself, because many times my clients are so smart, so much smarter than most of these idiots out here in the world, but they just don't trust themselves and they've learned to not speak up. So all these smart, amazing voices are getting blunted and quieted just because they're afraid. And the world has made their voice insignificant.
And it's just so hard to take responsibility. It's scary.
For
Like
what?
taking responsibility, like listening to your intuition and trusting your gut feelings and like believing in what you're doing. It's a huge
Why?
responsibility.
Why do you think it's so hard?
Because then you are responsible for the consequences, and nothing is ever certain with life. Like you can go on down that path
Is
with
that
like,
why? You think it's the fear of failure?
I don't think it's fear of failure, but like for some people it could be the fear of or the fear of failure. But what I'm talking about is like the fear of the unknown. Because like you would trust your feelings, you would trust your intuition, and then you will like be okay, I'm going down this road and thinking that I will reach that destination. But that's never the case. I feel like it's rarely the case actually. Like you could be studying, for instance, to be an engineer and like go to an engineer school, but then you learn about something and suddenly you're like a manager or like doing some business that has nothing related to engineer. And that's just a small example.
Yeah.
And the unknown is scary. People just feel more safe when they know or like feel in control of their circumstances.
Control is a big one. And also for for the unknown, you know, when you're in a relationship with somebody and then like you're breaking up and then you don't know what's going to happen. And that unknown part is like the worst part, because at least if you break up, you know what it is, or if you whatever. But that sitting in that limbo place of unknown is often the hardest thing for people.
Yeah. It's so hard to be like feeling in the middle of nowhere and feeling totally out of control. But like, let's be honest, nothing is ever in control. We have no control over whatsoever except ourselves in a way.
Well, what I always say, Confucius say, the only constant is change.
Yeah, basically. I grew up hearing that a lot, and that was a really hard pill to swallow.
I don't know if hearing it a lot is helpful either, though, because that then makes you not ever feel stable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like people often don't realize when they say things how other people perceive it. And you know me, I'm mouthy, I talk a lot of shit, but when it comes down to it, when I'm working with my clients or when I'm having a serious conversation, which a lot of people don't get out of me when I'm out in the world, because I'm not fucking working, I'm off the clock, I don't want to, you know. So
Yeah.
they experience me completely differently. And I think it was interesting when people saw my podcast with yesterday, they were like, oh, you're kind of smart. I was like, fuck you.
You are.
Idiots. Idiots.
So yeah. How old were you when you left Iran
I
and
was
went to the US?
I was 8 years old, and I was in third grade. So when I moved here, so my mom back home used to teach French. So she taught me French because she went to school in France. So that's why I'm so lucky, because my parents were both they studied outside. My dad studied here in the US, my mom studied in France. She's a French professor. And so she taught me French. They taught me some English. So when I moved here, I still definitely didn't speak any, but moved to Pasadena. And I was put in the remedial classes with the other bad kids, and they used to yell at us a lot because I don't think they had a place for me because they didn't have that many immigrants back then. So we had some ESL classes, but I think they start you in just like whatever class they can. They feel like you would fit in best. They're like, good luck.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was in third grade.
And like, so tell us more about like the timeline of the war and you growing up during this time until leaving to the US.
So growing up in Iran, I had a very normal, what I consider childhood, which is all I knew, which was the normal, like, you know, hanging out with your friends. This is when we used to play outdoors in the streets for fun with no phones. The kids today can't imagine that life. It's so weird to me. I feel like I'm the last of the Mohicans that actually got to live with that not phone life. And it's so hard to even do it today. But anyway, so then Pasadena. So in Iran, normal life, had good friends, moved. It was traumatic because when I was leaving, everybody was like sad. I had to leave my grandparents. That's why I always get pissed off at the war. I'm like, you guys are just, this was after the war. So we left after the war for a better future, right? As is what all immigrants want. We want a better future.
Yeah.
The American dream, which is essentially paying taxes to bomb our own people. Okay, moving on. So then I moved to, so I've been in Southern California ever since then, between LA and Orange County, right? So before that, I was in Turkey for a while because I think I don't know what we were doing there. I have to ask my dad. I was like, I think 4 or 5 years old when we were there. And then we went to Italy because I had family there, and then eventually worked our way over here, where in Southern California, as you don't know, maybe you do know, is a melting pot. But the areas that I lived in a very diverse areas of the city, from being very kind of lower socioeconomic status to very high socioeconomic status. So I'm living in this, I'm here, and then I see here, and then I'm just hanging out with everyone from both. And I think that's one of the things that's made me so kind of diverse, is living that life with alongside both of those types of people. And and then wanting to share the word that we're all the fucking same. We know it, we say it, we're like, oh, we all bleed red. But when it comes down to it, everybody's so segregated, Karim. If we had to all pick sides tomorrow, we would know where we're going, and that's scary.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So, what do you feel like you're still carrying from the time in Iran with you, like from these events since you were born or since you were still in the womb?
I'm sure I'm carrying some transgenerational traumas and womb traumas that I'm not aware of that maybe reflects in some of that hypervigilance and hyperactivity that I have. I don't know. Maybe that's just my biogenetics.
Yeah.
It's usually a combination. It's usually more nurture than nature, but sometimes nature does do some weird, crazy shit. So I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. You tell me. Like, do you feel like
Knowing me, what do you think might be a war trauma response from me? You've seen me in action quite a bit now. I mean, I definitely have a problem interrupting people. That's just, it's because my mind is so fast, and if I don't say it, it's going to be gone. And I have this
yeah.
problem, and I have this problem with my clients in therapy. They're like, "Can you say that again?" And I'm like, "No, I can't. It's gone. You should fucking listen because I'm
Yeah.
that. Sometimes I'm good." I'm like, write that down.
Okay, so I would say maybe like the tough love, like being so straightforward and direct about what looks right and what looks wrong. And I would say like the fun and taking things lightly energy.
You feel like that was like built as like a coping mechanism to that time, maybe? That makes sense. I like it.
Yeah, it could be. But I feel like it's also like a really good thing, you know?
I feel like better that than other things,
Yeah. Like taking life too seriously, it's hard and consuming, and it's really
Yeah.
not worth it.
Yeah, it's just a lot of pent up energy that just makes people feel so unhappy.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that noise? Trigger, is that you?
No.
Hold on. Oh, that was my phone. Wait, do I have it on vibrate? So, what were you saying?
I totally forgot.
See, that's why I have to interrupt people sometimes. But then I hope I don't make them forget what they're saying, which is also, I don't want to come across as like what I have to say is more important, but sometimes it is.
Yeah. So do you feel like carrying these traumas along your life is kind of what made you get into like therapy and helping people?
Probably. I'm sure it has something to do with it. I mean, they always say therapists must be crazy because why are they in the field? And I'm sure there's some level of truth to that. I don't know if the word crazy is proper there, but I mean, I think, I've been doing this for so long that everybody's jobs are some level of their trauma extension.
Mm,
Oftentimes we find people who are doctors and lawyers and who are in these high power positions, but then they're not you can tell they're more in it for the status and not really because they care about the job,
yeah.
because they need that validation. I don't know why I just went there on that tangent.
Mm. And as a child of war and someone who has been through it, uh, do you feel like when you see a war happening somewhere, it triggers back? Um,
Is that a trick question? I'd like
no,
to get
like
behind
I
for
want
number
you to
two, please.
elaborate your answer.
Well, if anybody's been following my new page, yes, I definitely get triggered by the war. And, you know, I go into this activist mindset that I've always had for many different kinds of people, not just my own. And so it's hard for me. You know, I had a run-in with a friend who is not like that, who's always been a little bit snootier than the average person. And it's hard to have conversations with people when they are so on a different, you know, thinking ground, not lack of critical thinking.
Yeah.
What was the question?
And so, like, in what other ways do you feel triggered by the
Oh,
events?
one thing I just remembered of like carrying something from the war, like because we had to kind of escape and like take all the things with us for the night, or not knowing how long we would be in these basements, essentially, right? These powers that be are good at scattering people away into basements. So my mom always had to like bring everything with us because we never know what we would need. So I feel like I always have a lot of shit in my purse because I never know what I might need. And so that I think is, you know, and that is like a mild level. And people, I don't know if you've ever known anybody who's been a hoarder where their whole house is full of shit. And that's like usually when they used to have a show about it, when they used to really break down into their history, and you would be like, oh, their mother died or somebody passed away and they had to like they stopped life at that point, and then all these things piled up around them, you know.
Yeah.
So that's a little way, I guess that's a mild version of that. I'm sure there's other things. I definitely have some control, obsessive compulsive personality, mild things where I like things to be. And so there's a difference between OCD and OCPD. OCD is like people who count all the time and who have to touch something 5 times. And OCPD is a personality disorder, which is just a personality. And again, I recommend everybody go and read these 10 different personalities we have. You're going to be enlightened by all the people in your life.
Yeah.
But don't go around diagnosing people because they're all made from us. So, what was I going to say?
The OCD and OCPD.
OCPD is you like things to be in a certain place. Like if I'm sitting here talking to you and let's say something falls off the couch and is sitting on the ground, I can't leave it there. I have to pick it up. It's like those kinds of little weird things. That's not really it's just more of a personal suffering to me. It doesn't really hurt anyone else.
Yeah. Is there a term for the opposite of that?
Super messy? That, I mean, well, in what way are you talking about?
Like you said that if you saw something falling down or anything, you would go and pick it up. But is there a term for people who would look at it and just don't care?
Maybe they're a little bit, depends on the thing, but maybe they are just don't care about that. And maybe they have other areas where they're super sticklers that I might not be. You know, everybody has their shit.
Yeah, that's true. So what else do you feel like you want to tell people about wars?
Wars? Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm so tired. I feel like there's no winning. I feel like I need to figure out how to get some stock in weapons. If you can't beat them, join them. Fuck it. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
So that's your advice?
Yeah, I'm not on the clock today, so I can talk shit. My advice is, well, I don't know. Like I said, back from the 1990s. Do you remember Rodney King?
No.
He was a black man who was beaten for the first time on this VHS recorder before we had phones or anything else. And black people were like, finally, we're going to be seen. Like, everybody's going to know what's been happening to us. Nothing really happened. Fast forward 30 years later, now it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the media just likes to just keep making things worse or what's going on. But my activist days, are always getting spiked, and then they're getting fucked because, unfortunately, not to sound cynical, but be cynical, it's not getting any better. Like, of course, you can find beauty in life and everything, but if you zoom out at the whole world, it's fucked up. And then people are like, well, life is suffering and everybody suffers. But it's like, if we are purposely going and like doing these things in 2023 and blatantly still taking people's land for resources without giving them what they are owed, it's just weird.
Yeah.
You can't just do that. They're there for a reason. That's their shit. You can't just go move people over. What I keep saying is like, you can't go picnic on somebody else's picnic that's already there. You can't just go and spread your shit out over someone's shit.
Yeah, like on a smaller scale, if you did that, you'll get in trouble, and everyone will be like, "What are you doing?"
I always say, ask the kids, like, let's go to a picnic, go to a park, and go be like, hey, let's go just sit on top of their shit. The kids will be like, no, it's going to make people uncomfortable. Like, the kids know everything. Their gut feeling is always right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually so true. And I've been reading this book, and I feel like it like helped me a lot. And it said that little kids just have this open mind and curiosity about everything, and they don't really worry about the consequences of things. And to go
until
through life,
they've been like scolded and beaten, and then now they can't be open anymore. They have to start closing up. And if you're bleeding hard enough, you're not going to close up for a long time, and you're going to have trouble.
Yeah.
Hence
And
childhood
so
trauma.
it basically, like, the author basically said that your work to do is to bring back this kid's mentality and openness to, like, explore, get curious, don't worry much about the consequences unless you're like, doing something wrong. And I feel like it's been such a really good advice. It like just helps you flow through life.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things and they're just reasonable and commonsensical, and I just wish people could be more like that.
Yeah.
But it seems to be so hard for people to just have some common sense anymore. I don't know.
And do you feel like, why do people doesn't have common sense?
Maybe it's not that we don't have it. Maybe it's that we have more access to seeing people who don't have it. You know?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Like, I feel like
too much access. It's getting ridiculous.
I feel like it's just that these days it's so hard to know what is the actual truth, and if there is actually an actual truth. I feel like everything gets binded in a way. And the best you can do is just to get curious and try to make your own reality about things. Because there is always opposition, and there is always like the other side. So I feel like people who doesn't have common sense are just people who follow one path blindly. That's something I don't understand, to be honest.
Yeah, that's why my conversations get shorter and shorter. If somebody wants to talk about that stuff, it's like you have to take history into consideration. You have to take the people and the political and the geopolitics and what's under the religious pretense. And it's not all about religion. Let's look a little deeper. And for people who, yeah, like you said, just following blindly. I was telling my friend, I was like, do you know the history? The one that I had an argument with about all of this. And she said, she like downed me and degraded me for being, I told her I talked to people all over the world in different countries, this and that. And she like downed me for that. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not worldly like you. I'm all, instead of saying that, how about saying like, oh, interesting. Like, I don't talk to that many people across the world. I don't have that access. It's interesting that you say that. And you can even argue and say, I bet if I went there and found some Jewish people, they would say the same thing in that area. Fine. We can talk about that, but don't turn around and say what occupation. At that point, I can't talk to you anymore, because what am I talking for? And one thing we have to understand is we can't change people's minds. I can just heal people who want to be healed, and I can only take them as far as I can. And then you know, at the end of the day, all I try to do is help people trust themselves more so that they don't need me as much.
Yeah.
Because that's the most important thing. People get obsessed with their therapist because they become dependent on them. And then that's just another dependence. Not all the time. Some are good at like keeping, you know, but
Healthy
the
boundaries.
goal is to make people make good choices because you're teaching them to make good choices, not because you're telling them the right choice.
Yeah. I think that's what is it all about, you know, like from my experience, that was basically what my therapist told me. He was like, I can't tell you what to do, but I can give you the tools that would help you.
Yeah. What is the old saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't quite like that, but I guess that's the term. That's the phrase they say for this particular situation.
Yeah.
So what time is it? 3? My friend is
Is
later.
there anything about like Iran or the history of Iran that is like a wrong, that like a lot of people think of, but it's actually wrong, that you would want to like correct it?
No, I think you know, just like many places, just like the US, the government is fucking the people. And they just do it differently there because different governments, again, the powers that be are all, you know, working to keep maintaining that. It's not just Iran, because people can easily go in there and just like what they're doing in all the countries they've done it in.
Yeah.
The history of time, if they really wanted to. So, you know, things have to stay the way they are for reasons that I don't really care to go into. I'm not an expert on this, so I can't really call it. But I think anybody who's reasonable, again, common sense, knows anybody in any country, like the civilians in these countries at war now, it's the same thing. You know, like there's people who live there. My grandparents live there. That's why I posted the thing, you know, of my time in Iran with my family, because it's like everybody has that in their own countries. You have it in Asia, you have it in India, you have it in Pakistan, you have it in Australia. So you just put your grandparents there, and then imagine somebody just coming and bombing shit and making them have to run around. Like that shit ain't cool. Nobody wants to, but what I'm learning now, the bigger picture is that denial is the easiest to sell and the easiest to buy. And the hardest to treat.
Yeah.
So that's why when I meet people like that, I have to just back away. I can't fuck with it. What am I going to do? What am I going to say to you? I don't want to say anything.
Yeah. And like, tell us more about how hard was it carrying this weight, and when did you feel like okay, or like basically when did your healing journey start? How did it start?
What weight? Which weight are we talking about?
Huh?
What when you say carrying this weight, what do you mean?
Like the weight of like the war trauma. And
I don't know if I really felt any weight. I think the only way I felt the weight was in this yearning sensation to like heal the world. You know, that's my trauma response, is like, everybody know that we're all the same. We all just want the same things. I'm like screaming that as a little kid, and then it turned into my job, and now that's what I'm doing.
so you feel like your job is kind of what started like your healing journey, because you felt like you're healing the world?
Maybe. I don't think I ever thought about the start of it. I just feel like I don't know if there's an official start that I can point to. I'm sure it just happens throughout my relationships, throughout my self-awareness, throughout my, you know, mistakes, you know.
Well, I think that's it.
Thank you for interviewing me. You're the best. It's funny because my friend Fatlip, actually, I was trying to get him to do it because he actually made a comment about, he's like, I think you need an introduction to people. And hopefully that was an okay one. Again, I know I can be all over the place, but
No,
you
I
did
think it was pretty perfect.
pretty perfect. Yeah, but I was like, do you want to do it? I was like, let me use your powers to do it. He's like, I'm not a talker. He's like, I'm a musician.
Come
Like,
on, you're not a talker.
no, me, I am. He's not. He's
Oh,
not.
okay.
So I get it. So I don't want to. So I was like, fine, you're not my musical mentor.
Mm,
So yeah, but thank you for I'm gonna also come out with a song
yeah,
to raise awareness about suicide. It's called "Don't Kill Yourself."
don't kill yourself.
I'm gonna rap.
Straight to the point.
I'm gonna rap.
All right.
Are you excited for my
I
single?
am.
I think it's gonna drop in the new year.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I'm totally joking, but I'm totally serious. I don't know. I'm kind of down because I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do. I just have to do what I can, you know? We can
Yeah.
we all have to just do what the fuck we can, Karim. Karim Abdul-Jabbar.
We just gotta keep on going.
Well, sometimes you have to stop and smell the flowers. If you keep going too much, sometimes you miss shit, and then that's not good.
Yeah.
Because you might miss some good shit. But thank you for coming. And are you ready? Are you ready to start EMDR for fun?
Yeah.
All right, let me exit us here.